It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Kyle Welch. Astor Piazzolla, Melange d'Angel.
The name of the song is Milonga de Angel, or Angel, however you want to say it. And this is actually a song played on, it's a tango, as a matter of fact, and it wasn't originally written for guitar. It was written, he's from Argentina, and I got turned on to his music listening to another great guitar player, Al Di Meola, did a record kind of dedicated to him right after he died. He died, I think, in the early 90s. You should remember a movie called 12 Monkeys? Mm-hmm. He did the soundtrack for 12 Monkeys. Astor Piazzolla scored that movie. And if you're familiar with the tango at all, it's usually have more of a small string section going on, maybe an accordion type sound. And but it became really popular to play his music for guitar. So everybody started transcribing it and playing it. And the CD that we're going to listen to, just kind of a little aside, is actually the original tango piece, and I can play you an excerpt on guitar of how it was rearranged. So it's just an excerpt from that piece, very beautiful. And after hearing that, I kind of really delved into listening to things from South America. I was pretty heavy into playing nylon string guitar and classical guitar at the time. You know, he wrote tangos, but he used a lot of jazz influence, and kind of is very open to interpretation and doing things his own way. So I came up, I have a song that I can demo for you. It's called Cascada, which the translation is waterfall, and it begins in an 11/8 time signature, which is rather unusual. So that's sort of the prelude to it, but so really inspired by that and started writing a lot of music for.
Well, which came first, the force of shredding or the finesse of this acoustic?
Which came first?
Yeah.
Probably the shredding, and I still don't shred like I think I would like to be able to, but I've had to teach myself that there's a lot more to music than just being able to shred, and much harder to learn the finesse wise, because it's much more of a delicate art. It's very exacting.
It's Brainwashed with Dr. Tom and guitar picks with Kyle Welch. Miles Davis, Blue and Green.
Just fantastic piece of music. You listen to that, I get chill bumps every time I listen to it. I mean, first of all, some of the guys he had that record was called Kind of Blue, and the members of that band, I mean, it like goes as a who's who kind of like good jazz players. So it's Miles Davis, Bill Evans on piano, Cannonball Adderley on alto sax, John Coltrane on tenor sax, and you know, of course, being a horn player, it kind of stuck with me too. But his sort of personality as a musician, Miles Davis, is the kind of guy, he wasn't taking anything from anybody, and I kind of I read his autobiography and really got turned on to his music after that. I thought it was very interesting that I just read about the man, then went and listened to more of his music. I'd already listened to some of it, and that record is considered to be a jazz classic, and the melody is quite simple for that piece. And then, of course, it gets into the solo section. Within jazz, you know, a lot of times you'll play the melody over the chord progression once, and then you'll go around the band and play different solos, depending on how you want to arrange it. But that's a general way that it would happen. And it's just, the piece is slow, but everybody says so much in their solos, especially like Bill Evans' piano solo on that song is unbelievable. And Miles plays with a mute in his trumpet, and it gives it this real brashy, kind of whiny, you know, it's just almost like the whole thing is just crying. It's unbelievable. And the other interesting thing about Miles Davis as it relates to guitar, I don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but he used to jam with Hendrix.
Oh yeah?
Jimmy used to come over to Miles' house, and they would jam together, and they talked about doing an album, and then of course Hendrix died, and I think it is rumored that there are some tapes out there of some of the sessions that they did. I haven't heard any of them, but I mean, you can only imagine what that would sound like.
Oh man!
And Miles did this other record called Sketches of Spain, where the first song on it is Concerto de Aranjuez, which is a very famous classical guitar concerto, and it's scored out for trumpets to play the lead. So you were asking me about the crossover before, so it's very ironic that I didn't even know that existed, and then I sort of fell into it, and it fit real well for me.
It's Brainwashed with Dr. Tom and guitar picks with Kyle Welch. Tori Amos, Bells for Her.
She's, of course, in the rock genre is where she's classified, and I know I said I don't really care for classifications, but you know, she's someone who started out in a band and then kind of went on her own, and she just sings and plays piano. And this song particularly I thought was great because it was actually played on a piano that's old, upright piano, and out of tune, which makes it sound more like tubular bells rather than just a piano when it's played. So it has a very interesting tonality to it, and it's very very haunting. So from a compositional standpoint and just a musical standpoint, it's very interesting, and the performance of it is very sexy almost. The vocal sounds like it's very unrehearsed. I mean, I'm sure it was rehearsed, but it's made to sound like it's very natural and very flowing. It's not this, okay, here's where the voice comes in and it's got to go like this and like this and like this. It's a more you know, if you sat down and you just played from the heart one time and you let it be, kind of like we were just talking about with the Hendrix sort of thing.
Maybe like a polished, unpolished feel to it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's very unpolished, but I think if you were to polish it, it wouldn't have the same allure that it does.